Hello and welcome to the channel. Today what we're going to talk about is business process tracking parallelism. Let's go. Alright, so I've had a lot of questions about whether or not business process tracking can support conditions and parallelism. The short answer is yes. And in this video we're going to take a look at how we can set this up for parallelism. In a future video, look for some content around conditions itself. Once again, if you're using business process tracking, if you have any feedback, if you have features that you'd like to see in the tool, go ahead, fill out this form. Happy to connect with you and we can further discuss your needs as well. All right, so when I've done demos, I've oftentimes used this particular example. And so people look, okay, yeah, it makes sense. It's a relevant scenario, but it is sequential, and like, what does that mean if I've got some parallel tasks that need to execute? How do I go ahead and model that? And so the good news is that this is a supported use case, and we can go ahead and sort of turn this particular business process into something a little bit more advanced, like this one here. So let me just sort of quickly walk you through this. So we've got in the CRM a ticket, a power outage ticket that's going to get created. We're then going to go ahead and pass that over to our work order management system. That work order management system is going to create a work order. Then we're going to go ahead and dispatch that work order to a technician. That technician is going to show up on site. And in parallel, we want to let the customer know that there is a technician on site. So we're going to go ahead and send them an email and let them know that the technician's on site. So that's something that's going to happen in parallel. The next thing is that once the work order is complete, once again, we want to do two things in parallel. We want to go ahead and update the CRM, indicating that the ticket's now closed. We also want to go ahead and update our inventory because we've just used we've used materials when we close the particular work order. And then last, we've got the customer communication. That is something that is there. Now, arguably, the customer communication could happen in the work stream of the CRM ticket being closed, because technically you wouldn't block on customer communication without updating inventory. But once again, more just for illustrative purposes to show you how we can fan out as we did here, and then how we can fan back in at the end. And so this is the result of this particular business process when it actually runs. So you can see we run through the first few steps sequentially, then we fan out, those happen concurrently. Then we've got the work order being complete. Then we fan out once again, we'll close the CRM ticket, we'll update inventory, and then we'll go ahead and communicate with the customer. Now, what's pretty interesting about this though is, and this is kind of an important thing to understand, is that the business process doesn't enforce the technical execution. You can think of this as more of a model of the execution. So the execution is happening in these logic apps behind the scenes. This is how we visually represent it. So it's not like the business process goes, oh, hold up, we've got to stop here, we've got a parallel branch. It's more of how are you modeling that, and so that's something to sort of just remember, is that it's still the technical implementation that's driving the behaviors. This is rarely how you go ahead and represent it. So what that does mean is you could, in theory, represent this sequentially if you wanted to, whether or not it's parallel or not. Similarly, you could take a sequential business process and represent something in parallel or concurrent. So it's really up to you in terms of how you drive the behavior of the actual visualization. So that's something to keep in mind. So let's go ahead, let's just jump into the Azure portal. Let's see a bit of a demo here. All right, so in the Azure portal, here's that business process that was complete. And so the question becomes, how do we sort of go ahead and create something like this? So I've got a copy of that old business process, basically the sequential one. And what I can do is just make some tweaks to this. So first thing I can go ahead and do is I can go ahead and click on this plus sign and then add a parallel stage. So that's something to remember. Like if I want to have basically another stage in parallel to this one, I need to go above it. So it's one of those things where you're not going to see it show up here because there's only things below it, but you can go ahead and set it up here. So let's go ahead, let's add a parallel stage. Now this one is going to represent closing out our CRM tickets. We can go CRM ticket closed. Let's just do that. And we don't have to add a property, so we won't for now. So now the question becomes, okay, so how do I go ahead and join these things together? Now, if I want to add another stage here, I can. And so I could go ahead and do this. Let's just call it like stage 2. Okay, I can't have a space. Right, so I can go ahead and do that if I want. Then I could go ahead and create like a third stage, maybe over here, and I can call this stage 3. I'll add that, and then maybe I want to go ahead and join these. So go ahead and join top to bottom. Don't try to go from bottom to up. So here what I could do, if I want to converge these, so basically go ahead and fan back in, I can go ahead and drag these, that little blue sort of rectangle thing, and just go ahead and click into that. And that's going to allow me to go ahead and fan back in. So here we went ahead and we fanned out. We added another stage. And if we want to converge them, we certainly can go ahead and do so. Now, if I do want to I can go ahead and delete. So you can delete stages by right mouse clicking as well, if you so choose. But yeah, that's how you would go ahead and both fan out and then also fan in. The other thing is you could still go ahead and add another stage as well. So let's say we need a third stage here. Let's go ahead and add a parallel stage, and we could just go like, this is now stage, whatever we want to call it, say stage 4. And once again, we can go ahead and, do that as well. So keep branching, keep, fanning out, fanning in as you see fit. But as you can see here, you can go ahead and model some fairly complex business processes as well. So yeah, that concludes this video. Short and sweet, but hopefully that gives you a sense of the capabilities involved in parallelism.